Hi, folks! The Filipina P here. And last time we were discussing some important legal issues with attorney Dave Batula. And today, we're going to pick up right where we left off by answering the question in the Philippines, what can a foreigner legally do to defend himself from a physical attack? Okay, so what about this attorney? This scenario. What if a foreigner has a Filipino girlfriend and this foreigner didn't know that this girlfriend is still legally married because the girlfriend lied about it. And they were having sex and then the husband caught them red-handed. And what if he tries to kill the foreigner? Can a foreigner legally defend himself against the Filipino husband?
Well, it's a good question though, because if the foreigner, just to clarify the question, if the foreigner kills the husband in the course of him defending himself, he can actually claim self-defense. All right? Why am I saying this one? Because provided that he was in imminent danger of being killed or severely harmed, and the fact that the foreigner was involved in a married woman doesn't automatically negate his right to self-defense. That's the main point. If the foreigner felt that he might get killed, then he can actually exercise self-defense. But if the foreigner killed the husband out of, excessive retaliation, the court can actually appreciate that those little acts that you do. For example, if you stab the husband out of self-defense once, that might be a self-defense. But if you stab the husband once, twice, five times, the court might say, this is not self-defense already. There might be an element of retaliation. So self-defense would likely fail in that scenario.
Okay, so just stab him once and then run.
Stab him once, as long as you're all not anymore in imminent danger. Diba? For example, if you were able to kick the right leg of the husband and then the husband fell and now you can run, then that's when self-defense ends. That's because you are already able to run away from imminent danger. But just for guidance, there are elements of self-defense though. This is unlikely to happen. I hope it does not happen. I hope that foreigners would not do sex with married Filipino women. So this is unlikely to happen. Don't do this. Avoid the scenario. But in case it happens, there are elements of self-defense. Number one, there must be unlawful aggression on your part. For example, you know that you might get killed. So there is unlawful aggression, right? And then number two is that the foreigner must not use more force than necessary to repel the aggression. For example, if
How can you gauge, attorney? Like, okay, not a strong punch, but just a half-ass punch.
the main point there is that it should your defense, the force that you will use should give you at least a chance to run away. That's how I explain it, right? So if, for example, if the husband does not carry any firearm, the husband went there without any ammunitions or knife or whatever, then I don't see any reason why you would kill the husband using a knife or using an ammunition, because after all, there was no force more than the physical force that the husband has. I have not been in that scenario, but the law is telling us that um, you need to gauge if whether or not the force that you'll be using is more than what's necessary to repel the aggression. And then last element is that there should be reasonable necessity. So for example, if there's no need for you to retaliate or to defend yourself, then don't do it. Again, it's unlikely to happen. I hope it does not happen to anybody watching this video.
Okay, but he can surely defend himself against robbery or home invasion, right? If
That's
someone
correct.
pressed. Okay. So what if he accidentally killed the robber? The thieves and the people that came into his house. Can he use that defense as well? Like, self defense. I have the right to protect my family and my property.
Accidentally, well, let's qualify the term accidentally. If it's accidental, well, he can use it as a defense, of course. But again, it's true that you can defend yourself during robbery or home invasion, but as I previously mentioned, that the force that you will use must be reasonable and proportionate to the threat. For example, if the robber is just outside the gates, I don't see any reason why you need to use any force. But if the robbers have ammunitions, then for sure, by all means, you need to defend yourself using ammunition as well, probably, but just enough to defend yourself.
Okay, so it's known that foreigners aren't allowed to own guns in the Philippines. But what if his wife can get a gun? Can the foreigner use the gun within their household to defend his family during home invasion?
Well, the gun is not him. It's the gun owned by the wife. And to be honest, in that scenario, I don't think that gun ownership is a case is a big deal. After all, what's required there is for you to be able to defend yourself, using the necessary force needed.
Okay, so the judge won't take that against you. Like it should have been your wife that shot the robbers
I
because
don't think so. In any reasonable circumstance, I don't think it's necessary for them to prove gun ownership. After all, you're there to defend, right?
exactly. Okay. All right. So again, guys, sad to say for those of you gun connoisseurs that love to collect guns, sad to say you're not allowed to own a gun in the Philippines if you're a foreign national, just
That's
your
correct.
wife. But you can go to a shooting range. You can shoot there. Yeah, you can shoot, but you cannot own a gun.
That's correct. But you can use bladed weapons. It's actually weird that I'm giving them advice. But yeah, firearms need authorization or valid permit. But improvised weapons, you can use it for defense, like objects within reach, anything that you can use for self-defense.
They can use knives.
You can use knives.
But what about arrows, attorney? Undocumented arrows or unregistered arrows. Apparently, it's illegal to own unregistered arrows in the Philippines.
Yeah, there's a specific provision of the law on that one. But again, it can be appreciated as a self-defense, but you may be prosecuted for, bringing with you an undocumented arrow or undocumented ammunitions. You can be prosecuted for that separately, but the court will still appreciate self-defense.
Okay, gotcha. So, if you're an archer, have them registered. So, not for the paternity law, attorney. So, what if a foreigner doubts that he is the father of the child? Let's say he is married to a Filipina and they have a child together, but he later found out that it's not his. Can he request a DNA test? Can he request to have his name removed if proved that he's not the biological father of this child?
Well, good news is that our courts already allow DNA tests. So a foreigner can request a DNA test. And as to your second question, what if the foreigner is not the biological father? He can file a petition with the court to have his name removed from the birth certificate. So,
But
correct.
until then, is he required to pay child support? Because obviously it's assumed that it's their child because he's inside a marriage with a Filipina. So he's assumed and he signed the birth certificate. So until it's proven that it's not his, he is obliged to pay child support.
That's correct. You are right with that because one act of acknowledgement in the Philippines is that upon birth, if your wife asks you to sign the birth certificate at the back of it, then it's a symbol of acknowledgement that you are the father of the child. So until you get to dispute that one or disprove that one that you are not the biological father, you are required to give support. You are required to support the child for whatever needs he or she has.
Okay, so what about this attorney? If a foreigner is not married to the Filipina and they have a child together, is he required to sign the birth certificate, or does he need to, is it best to get a DNA test first just to make sure it's his?
Well, if you're not sure about that, then don't sign.
Okay,
Yeah,
so saying that you have to be, what if,
there's no law which requires you to sign a birth certificate right away. If you think that you are not the child, it means if you're not signing it, it's a categorical act which tells the court na you're not acknowledging that child as yours because you are contesting as to whether that child is biologically yours. I'm not signing it yet. All right. I'm awaiting for other tests to arrive and I'm going to sign it later. I'm going to acknowledge paternity later on, and that's absolutely okay.
so the mother cannot just put your name in there. You have to sign it with,
The mother can put your name, but without your signature, that's no sign of acknowledgement.
but what if it's forged?
Well, then, well, then that would be a different case because it can be a case for forgery, for example, birth certificate becoming a public document. So you can file another case for that one.
Your girlfriend can put your name, but without your signature, then it's not valid.
Yes, it's not valid, and it means you did not acknowledge the child as yours.
Without the acknowledgement of the father, the mother cannot oblige the dad to pay child support.
That's correct. That's correct. Because technically, the child is not your child, and you're not obligated to give child support.
I guess that should be mandatory nowadays, because there are so many paternity frauds. Yeah, you're raising someone else's child and you're not aware of it. So that should be a crime, right, attorney? Raising, you were deceived and paying for this child and it's not even yours. That should be a heinous crime. The mother should be sued. The mother should go to jail for that.
That should be, but at the same time, as a foreigner, you also have your own volition. You are mature enough to make decisions such as signing the birth certificate. If you're not sure, don't sign it yet. It's safer to have a DNA test, although it's expensive, but it's always safer to have that one first before acknowledging the child to be yours. Because if you acknowledge the child to be yours, it's going to be a difficult case later on to have it reversed. Course, it's a case-to-case basis. So there are instances where, although you did not sign the birth certificate, but there is proof that you are married and you're not sure of the child, the court presumes that since the child was born into a valid marriage, despite you not signing it, then the court presumes it's your child because the child was born within that valid marriage.
Okay,
So
so
that's an exemption to the rule that we have mentioned.
Okay, so yeah, because it's automatically here that within, if you're born within a marriage, a valid marriage, then they will presume that the dad is the dad. But then
Yes.
again, but later, what if later on, attorney, if he requires or he requests for a DNA test and later on found out that he is not the biological father?
So if later on proven, then you can petition the court to have it's a petition to have your name removed from the birth certificate, and that the court should order another birth certificate which does not contain your name, so you would not be required to give support to the child.
Okay, so last topic, attorney. Inheritance law. We already know that a foreigner cannot own land, but isn't there an exception if he's married to a Filipino citizen and then what if the spouse dies? Can a foreigner inherit land?
That's actually one of the exemptions under our Philippine Constitution, right? Foreigners cannot own, but as an exemption, a foreigner married to a Filipino may acquire land through inheritance. So, for example, the Filipina dies later on, um, the foreigner can actually own that land, but not directly through purchase, but that's through inheritance. Obviously, um, he is the spouse, so he has a right over that property. So that can be transferred to his name. But there are technicalities here, right? If the wife wills the land to her foreign husband, so that happens, for example, the wife has a will and testament, and then the wife placed there that, okay, the part of the property will go to my foreign husband. This would be illegal because the foreigner cannot own land in the Philippines. However, if the Filipina does not will the land to the foreigner may still inherit the land under the laws of succession. And you know what succession is? The land cannot be transferred to their name. Instead, it must be held in trust for the foreign spouse. And the foreign spouse may still be able to maintain possession of it, but not legally own it. So just to clarify, it's still strict that he cannot own the land, but because of the loss of succession, he can be like the lawful trustee of the land. He can maintain and take care of the land. He can maintain possession of the land, although it's not legally owned by him.
Can he sell the land?
Well, unfortunately, since it is not owned by him, then he does not have the power to dispose or sell the property. He can maintain it and possess the land, but not sell the property.
So he can use it, he can maintain it, but he cannot sell it.
Yes, that's correct.
Ah, that's through inheritance without a will from the
Yes.
wife. Okay. Because if there's a will, then it will invalidate the inheritance if the wife says, "Oh, I want this parcel of land to be given to my husband when I dies." But if the
Yeah.
wife dies without a will, then it automatically, the foreign husband can possess the land, maintain it, but not really own it, but he can use it. Can the parents of the deceased wife kick him out?
All right. Fortunately, the husband or the foreigner can maintain possession. As I've said, can maintain possession until
Right.
he dies or until he leaves the country, and it's only then that the real heirs can make full use of the property and kick him out.
Okay, well, attorney, that was a lot of topics. I appreciate it for the clarifications, and I know that that's a lot to take in. So, guys, if you have time, you can have this rewatch. You can watch this many times so that it absorbs. And if you need any clarifications and any legal advice, I'm sure Attorney Dave is more than happy to assist you with that. Guys, you know the drill. I'll be putting Attorney Dave's contact info in the description box and also inside the pinned comment. Again, attorney, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking with you today, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. It's also a pleasure always. Thank you for the invite. And for the next topics, I'm just one email away.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you again, attorney. Have a good day. Bye. Sir, do you have any idea how fast you were speeding? Speeding through my video and not paying attention to a word I said? I'm gonna let you go with a warning this time. A warning that you better give a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to my channel, and visit my Patreon page for extra content and exclusive videos and features. Got it?
I don't even want to watch your stupid videos.
All right, out of the car. I think this one needs a full cavity search, the hard way. And for the rest of you good citizens, may I suggest watching my other videos too? And remember, I can have you in handcuffs anytime I want.